Let's have a look at all the items and powers that are available for Reinhardt in Overwatch 2 Stadium. This week I've been playing the Stadium preview in Overwatch 2, and I've been having a blast. Especially trying to figure out the builds for all the heroes has been a lot of fun. In the coming days I'm going to highlight some heroes and have a look at their powers and the unique items over in the Stadium practice range. And we're starting out with Reinhardt. So here we are in the specific arena practice range. It actually has all of the powers and whatnot in there. That's kind of cool. And it is in a third-person perspective. I can just look at myself being silly. Way better. But anyways, that's not why we're here. At least not all of it. So we want to give these all a try, right? That's it. In case you missed it, you basically have two big categories of items that you can use. You have these on the top right here. Those are your powers. They don't cost you any cash. You do unlock one slot every few rounds. So that is at round 1, 3, 5, and 7. And you can't take them back. So once you made a choice, you need to stick with the choice. But those are the most impactful and the funniest. Although, the items are below them. Now, those items you need to buy with the cash that you earn throughout the game. However, you can sell them to get some cash back. So right here is all of the choices you have. These are the example builds. So Blizzard kind of made these suggestions, so to speak. We're going to ignore those for now. We're going to have a look at the items first. Now, overall, all of the items that you see here, they have 3 categories: common, rare, and epic. All the ones that just look like a normal icon are general items. So basically all heroes, or a lot of heroes, have the same kind of items that you can use. And they all are more weapon power, lifesteal, that kind of stuff. I'm not going to run over those because those are very general. But there are, however, some specific items, and they are called hero items. Those are specific for the hero that you're playing, and you'll recognize them because of the more detailed, kind of colorful look that they have. So for instance, in the weapon category, you have this one item called Ironclad Cleats. I think that's it. It gives you 20% extra armor, 5% weapon power, which is the rocket hammer in this case, and 40% knockback resistance. Now, these are all statistics. It's not super spectacular to look at. Well, some of them are. This Plan Z, which gives you 10% weapon power, and you gain 3% attack speed for every 100 missing life, up to 30%. So attack speed, that is starting to build up. And Dampened Grip, this is where we can kind of start seeing the funny stuff. When you deal damage with Rocket Hammer, you reduce the cooldown of your abilities. Let's have a look, shall we? Oh, somehow I ended up all... Oh my god, good thing the panel's there. I would have been dead. So let's do a Fire Strike. The cooldown is running, and then for every hit I do, you see it jump up. Kind of completely
double kill,
removing that cooldown. So that gives you a lot of potential when it comes to combos. So those are all of the weapon items. There's also ability items. A Boost Recycler. You get a 10% ability power. If charge is interrupted by the enemy, you refund 50% of your charge cooldown. This one will kind of enhance the fire strike radius. He actually changed the animation on top of that. It basically does an above hand animation instead of the... how do you call it in tennis? There's a name for that, right? That is kind of cool. Alright, let's reset. So that is Chimera's Maw. If you go to the epic range that you can get, I'm going to go for this one first. You'll see in a minute why. Rocket Strike. The fire projectile speed is 50% faster on top of the ability power that you get. Let me show you what that looks like. That is way closer to a normal projectile than the fire strike usually is. That is really hard to avoid. Look at that. Let me show you without. And then let me show you with. Yeah, that is a lot faster. Alright, cool. But what was the one that I was keeping away from you guys? Well, you probably heard about this one. Griffin Glider. Gives you 25 health, 10% ability, lifesteal, but you can now fly when charging. Yeah, this is going to get you into interesting angles. If you combine that with the other Fire Strike...
Toasty!
Toasty indeed, my friend. And then we're going to look at the last category, Survival. Crusader's Curse will give you 25 health, and using charge will cleanse all negative effects. That is a nice one. Overclock Barrier gives you 25 health, but there's also 20% barrier field health and barrier field size. Guys, That is a barrier. And look at the health. And let's do the comparison again. Normal, 1500 health. This is your window. Overclock barrier. Bam! 1800 health, and look at the size of this thing. It's actually sticking through the ground. The next one is called Rocket Birds. You get 25 health. On top of that, you become a little Batiste. Let's go to the epic ones for survival. Infusion Generator gives you 25 health, increases barrier field health by 100% of your max life. You want to know what that looks like? 2075 health on the shield, up from 1500. And the last one is called Phoenix Protocol, 25 health, and barrier field regenerates 50% faster and begins regenerating 50% sooner after being destroyed. Let's amp this up a little bit.
Stand behind me, friends.
Let these guys shoot at it. So there we go. That's how fast the regeneration happens. But now if it gets destroyed,
My barrier's about to break.
you can see it actually kind of moves up a lot faster. So those are all of the items. The ones that you buy with the currency, the ones that you can sell again and switch in and out. Makes a lot of sense that some of these, like the flying or the rocket boots, would be refundable. But the big magic happens in the powers, of course, and those are the ones you can get 4 of them. They unlock every few rounds, and you can't remove them. Once you pick one, you need to stick with it. Some of them are a little light, but others... Let's start with Amplification Barrier. Friendly projectiles that pass through the barrier will deal 50% more damage. Well, let's have a look, see.
Fire at will.
That we recognize, right? That is something we know. We've seen this. In Mirrorwatch, this was a thing. And now it's actually in the game for real. So anybody that shoots through this is going to do a little more extra damage.
The barrier can't take much more.
Barrier Reconstruction. When you deal damage with Rocket Hammer or Fire Strike, restore health to the barrier field equally to 10% of its maximum health.
Stand
We're getting shot at. Our friends here. No, we do. And our barrier is almost full again. So if you can switch this around, good luck. Remember the item I got where you can kind of combo all these things and the cooldowns will reset? Yeah. Combine it with this one, you might be cooking. But I'll keep those types of strategies for a different video, because I need to do more research. The next one is, to me, my friends. When barrier field is active, allies within 5 meters are healed equally to 3% of your max life every 1 second. Let's give that a try. Alright, these bots are getting a little low, but we're going to approach them with the shield. And look at that. The Wilhelm Wagon. While barrier field is deployed, you heal for 50% of the damage it mitigates and gain 30% movement speed. And let's take some damage first. And put up the shield.
My shield holds strong.
And as they're shooting my shield, actually, I'm getting healed. On top of just having more movement speed.
Barrier's about to give.
Shield Stampede. 50% charge knockback power. During charge, automatically deploy a barrier field. Yeah, you want to see this one. And I had the shield while I was charging.
Can you feel the heat?
That is nice. Vanguard. Charge grants nearby allies overhealth equally to 10% of your max life and 20% movement speed for 3 seconds. There we go. You can see the green overhealth. I mean, it only lasts for 3 seconds. I wonder if I charge from down here. Yep, does the same thing. You just need to set off your charge near them, but the radius is pretty big. Look at that. You're basically charging away and leaving them behind with a peasant. Vroom boom boom. During charge, colliding with a wall triggers an explosion that deals 30% of your charge pin damage. I'm going to charge right in between those guys, without the power set. And look at their health bar. So we lost like 2 blocks. And now we're going to get a vroom boom boom. And we're going to do that again. With the explosion. And they only have 2 blocks left, so that is a huge difference. A huge explosion. I like this one, Blazing Blitz. After using Earthshatter, every rocket hammer swing launches a fire strike for 4 seconds. Let's have a look-see. Now what you need to keep in mind with this one is that you need to aim at your target's head while you're swinging, which feels slightly unnatural to do, but it works. Let me show you.
Hammer down!
That is such a good one. I love this one. The next one is called Impact Burst. Fire strike triggers an explosion the first time it hits an enemy, dealing 20% of its damage in a 3-meter radius. So this is what it normally looks like. But then we get our power. And you see the other ball taking damage. You know what the thing is? It says the first time, which is kind of confusing because it's actually referring to the fact that it is a piercing projectile, so it might hit a second person. It won't do it at that time. I think the description is a little weird. Magma Strike. A fire strike is cast twice within 2 seconds. The second strike leaves a trail of lava that burns enemies for 50% of the fire strike damage. Let's have a look. Look at that.
Fire!
That is a good one. Feeling the burn. Every third rocket hammer swing applies burn, dealing 30% rocket hammer damage over 2 seconds. Let's give it a try. Alright. 1, 2, 3. See, and he's burning. And you can see the hammer actually light up a little blue. 1, 2, and 3. And the last one, Smashing. When you deal damage with rocket hammer, gain 5% movement speed and 4% weapon lifesteal for 3 seconds, stacking up to 3 times. Uh-oh. Look at him run, man. The old man can sprint. And he can stack up to 5 times, so.
Double kill.
Man, I love all of these powers. I think you can make some really great combinations. But that was all for Reinhardt. Now, if you guys like these types of videos, I'd like to do some more. And once I figure out all of the options, I might even do some build videos. We'll see. But tell me, what combo of Rein powers were you thinking of using? Let me know in the comments. For now, however, that was it. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up. It always helps me out. I also want to thank my patrons and YouTube members. You too can become a member over on patreon.com/theomnicpost and right here on YouTube to unlock exclusive rewards. If you have a few minutes left, maybe check out one of my other videos. But above all, take care of yourself, take care of each other. Bye bye.